Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content to help you answer the question, should the next Bond film be retitled No Time to Release? I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
When did you think of that and how long was you smiling about it at work?
It was only like half an hour ago.
Okay.
I was like, oh shit. That's normally how it works with these. I'm like, shit, I need to come up with a bit for the start. Terrible at pre-planning these. Also returning after over 6 months away from us, Mr. Nicholas Pryor.
I am also Ashley Hobley, your host.
No, but I'm glad you remembered your bit. All right. We're going to be talking about everything in our watch histories. We'll be covering a little bit of news this episode, and then we'll be talking about the movie that we ended up watching, Easy A. Let's kick things off with a couple of reviews you've done, Dylan. Talk to us about the new Shudder film, Scare Me.
So Scare Me is, it's, I guess, their marquee horror film that they released for the Halloween period, and it's not really a horror movie, so that's what kind of makes it interesting. It's more, I would say it's a comedy for the most part, with slight built up to suspension at the end. The whole film's built around two characters just stuck in a room together. One of them is a Stephen King equivalent who's actually got published a book about like vampires or some shit like that. And the other person is someone who wishes they were a published horror author. And more or less, they challenge one another to try and tell the scariest story they can possibly scare one another with. And hijinks and stuff ensue, I guess. It works if you appreciate, I guess, campfire stories. Like if you've ever actually done real life campfire stories and you can appreciate what it takes to actually tell a scary story around a campfire type thing, because that's more or less what the movie's trying to do. Often any suspense it builds as they're telling these scary stories is undercut by a comedic moment or something like that, which kind of is one of the downfalls of it. And then it kind of just falls apart at the end, because I don't think when they were writing the script, they knew exactly how they were going to end the movie or have something that felt like a worthwhile end to the movie. But it's enjoyable for the two on-screen stars, one of which is Aya Cash, who, if you're watching The Boys Season 2 at the moment, I feel like as bad as it is to say everyone's falling in love with her through that show, which, considering her character isn't the best on The Boys, but nonetheless, she's in it. So if you're enjoying watching her on The Boys Season 2, she is just as much fun in the show. And then the lead guy is played by Josh Rubin, who is the writer and director. It goes for a bit too long. I think it would have been a lot better, because it's an hour 45. If it'd been like one of those hour 20 chippy, fast-paced, like doesn't overstay its welcome kind of thing, it probably would have worked a lot better, because there was a period definitely halfway through the movie where I'm like, okay, the shtick's kind of starting to grow old already, but yeah, I mean, it's all
right. What about The Cleansing Hour? What's that one about? Another Shudder original.
Yeah. Cool idea. Once again, not the greatest way to put it all together, but the setup for this one is these two dudes who have been friends for ages decide to put on a fake, they're putting it out there as it's real, an exorcism show. So one of them plays a priest, and it's like, imagine streaming it out to Twitch, and you got hundreds of thousands of people tuning in every week to see this priest pull off this new exorcism, and they're selling it as real. And you gather early in the film that it's like one of those things where a lot of people believe it's real and they're watching it because they think it's real, and then a lot of other people are well aware that it's fake, but they continue to watch it just because it's an entertaining
like
Twitch. Yes, I guess, yeah. Except for no one really pretends wrestling's real anymore at all. Everyone knows it's not the 80s anymore. But yeah, so people tune in for that, and then what goes wrong is, of course, early in the film, one of the two guys, his girlfriend, steps in to play the actor who was going to get possessed because the real person didn't turn up. And lo and behold, they actually get possessed on the set of this live stream show. The demon that possesses her then says, "You can't call for help. You can't shut off the stream or else I'll kill her." The guy who's behind the scenes who's the boyfriend has to stay where he is behind the desk controlling all the cameras and stuff. If he tries to come over to help her, he'll kill her. And then basically the demon tries to unveil every character's hidden secrets to the public and like kind of shame them through that way. It's a cool idea because it like very obviously is trying to dig into the whole like, isn't social media really the devil of the 21st century? Like I feel like that's the underlining message of it all. It's got some gory kills but with some bad CGI that often ruins it. And weirdly, as I wrote in my review, the one thing I was going to complain about most for this is throughout the movie, as it's building tension on the set, as the film does slowly start to build tension, it'll often cut away to random people around different parts of the world and show you watching the show on like their iPad or laptop to be like, look how many people are watching this. And as I'm watching it, I kept thinking, this is so stupid because it's undercutting any sense of terror it's building or claustrophobic effect that it's building on the set. But I gotta be honest, by the time you get to the end, it has a major payoff for all these people that are actually watching at home. And it's one of these rare movies where the ending is so good. Like I enjoyed the last 10 minutes, I think, of this movie so much so that it's hard. It's a weird thing to be like, hey, the movie's okay, but the ending was super fucking entertaining if you're willing to watch it for the ending. And it kind of made me want the sequel. I know a lot of people say the same thing for like The Mist. They're like, oh, The Mist is an okay movie, but the ending, by God, like watch it for that. So I guess it falls under similar terms there. But yeah, it's I think I gave it 6 or whatever. So it's a okay one.
So I checked out the new series that dropped on Amazon Prime Video, Utopia, which is a remake of the UK series of the same name. This one headed by Gone Girl writer and Sharp Objects writer Gillian Flynn. Follows a group of comic book nerds who come across like this whole conspiracy that's based around this comic book called Dystopia. They've a sequel to it called Utopia is suddenly found mysteriously. Everyone tries. There's this big auction to try and get it, but then there's this nefarious group that is trying to stop people getting this comic book because there's like secrets and stuff hidden within the concept art or the art of the comic book. It's okay. I mean, it's terrible timing for the show because it's a series pretty much about a pandemic, and viruses and stuff like that. So it's not exactly the best timing for a show like this, although they do respond to it much better than the Americans in real life. So it's got that going for it. I haven't watched the original series, but it seems like they've taken some strong liberties, especially after the first couple episodes. It diverges a fair bit. I went back and watched the first episode of the UK series after, and it feels like they've extended everything out a fair bit more, especially in that first 2 episodes. The thing that ends the first episode in the UK series doesn't come till the end of the second episode, so it's a bit more fleshed out at the start. Of course, this series is 8 episodes long, whereas the original was like 6 episodes for this first season.
It was 2 6-episode seasons.
Yeah. So I think this probably covers... Well, I think, again, it diverges a lot because I think in the UK version, the person that the secret society is trying to work over is like a government official or something like that. In this one, it's like a doctor a scientist who like discovered a special type of flu in like somewhere in South America, that suddenly appears out of nowhere. Yep. I mean, it's fine across the board, nothing spectacular. None of the reveals are super. It didn't feel super satisfying at the end of the season when it's revealed the secret plan behind everything. John Cusack is probably the biggest name actor in this. It looks like he's like chewing the scenery in this. As like the head of a big science corporation, but also part of some like weird cult that's kind of behind everything. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but yeah. Yeah, and then just some of the characters feel very erratic. Particularly the Jessica Hyde, played by Sasha Lane, who people would probably know from American Honey and stuff like that. She's just a bit, her character motivations and stuff are like a bit all over the place, even though it's understandable given kind of her backstory. Also, the kid in this is quite annoying. And then there's the character of Arby, who's like a killer, who does pretty terrible stuff, and towards the end of the season they're trying to make you feel bad for him and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't quite hit.
He's the reason I like this, because I've only watched the original series.
Yeah.
And the original reason I like the original series so much is basically because Arby was, I didn't like him in a good way. He was like a really bad villain that you enjoyed and I mean, I don't think I don't want to say in case it's a spoiler, but I remember because I was watching the original series when it aired week to week, and one of the episodes had something in it that was one of those events where everyone's sitting at home, like mums and dads or parents hated it so much that BBC was having like emails written to them saying, how the fuck could you show that on this episode? Like, it was so messed up. I'll just say it in case it's in it, but they had a school shooting episode in the first season, which I don't know if they do in the original. They have
something similar.
Okay, because I didn't think they would do it, because they do the whole school shooting where, I mean, literally this Arby character goes in there and he just starts shooting the place up, and it's like super dark and messed up. And
there's something similar that's also quite dark, but not quite school shooting.
Is it a comedy at all?
No,
because the trailer's kind of coded as a comedy kind of thing.
I think the
original series is super serious.
I think they were just trying to get you in with the light tone. I don't think it's super funny or anything. It's like the occasional witty character and that kind of thing, but it's not. And it's just like the level of ridiculousness to it, to a certain degree, is, I guess, amusing to some people. But it's fine. I assume. I don't know if they're going to do a second season. It leaves on kind of a cliffhanger, but I don't know. Obviously, apparently this was shot like before everything. It was like finished October last year. It's only coming out now, so. Be interesting to see what happens next.
The original series ended after 2 seasons, and it ends on a sort of cliffhanger where they could do a 3rd season. And I remember reading the interview of the show's creators, and they kept getting asked, like, was it left open to do a 3rd season? And it was one of those things where, like, no, we just did 2, but if we ever decide to come back 10 years from now, there's, like, we could do something if we want. But it's so funny to think that a British show that's only 12 episodes long could be stretched into a 1 season, even 1 season as long as the entire run of the original show, you know? Like, really stretching.
Yeah, you've sold me on not checking it out.
Yeah.
I would suggest watching the original.
Time.
I enjoyed the original. I've got both seasons on DVD. That's how old that is.
Well, that's the beauty of English shows.
Also
on
Prime Video, just so you know, if you want to check that one out. Yeah, it's smart of them to pick up the rights for that one, at least here in Australia. Nick, you watched a show that just had its season finale, Raised by Wolves, the Ridley Scott produced show.
Yes, it's also.
What is Raised by Wolves? Was it any good?
It started off really strong, but by the end, it just like went well off the rails. It's a sci-fi show about Earth. Well, the story is Earth is destroyed by this war between atheists and this religion that took over, kind of called the Mithrate or whatever. But it's about these 2 androids. They land on this, they're like the closest planet, and they have frozen embryos, and they raise them to be atheists. But then by the time the kid is, I don't know, like 12, 14 years old, the ark ship, like the ark ship from the religious sect comes, and then it's about the conflict between that. There's lots of metaphors and whatnot, like, and the planet has its own history and life, and it's, if it didn't end the way it did, I'd say it was definitely worth checking out, because the first like half of the season is really, really strong. The only notable actor that I know in it is Travis Fimmel from Vikings. But yeah, the way it ends, like, I've seen some people write favourable opinions on the way it ends, but from a storytelling perspective, it's just just goes off the rails. Stuff happens out of nowhere, no explanation. Character motivations just go out the window. It's just, yeah. I believe they left it. They definitely left it open to a second season, but I don't think I'll be checking it out.
Okay.
That bad?
Yeah, I guess even though it was a HBO produced show, I guess it was definitely Netflix caliber. I'd want to say.
Well, it was a Max show.
Yeah,
so maybe it doesn't have.
It was smart that they had it on their streaming service and not their cable channel, I guess.
Mm. But at least you stuck it out for the whole 10 episodes.
Yeah, definitely. I guess also what maybe stuck it out is like every HBO show these days had a companion podcast, but the podcast was, I guess, discussing the science of the show and what could be really feasible and whatnot. So I guess that was the only reason I really stuck it out to the end.
This was all dropped at once, though, wasn't it? Like,
no, they dropped like the first episode, then 2 episodes at a time after that per week, and then the last episode on its own.
That's weird.
It was a really weird release schedule.
Well, I'll touch on another show that I saw that you've been watching that looks like you've dropped off. Lovehouse County.
Lovecraft County.
Lovecraft County.
Lovecraft Country.
Country, is it?
Yes.
Fucking. They had this problem last time. So I think everybody was very positive in that show starting off, but it looks like you've both dropped off that. Is that?
Yeah, I think I dropped off maybe the 4th episode in. I continued watching it. Like, I didn't immediately love it. Like, I loved the first 2 episodes with the lore and whatnot, but at the same time I also felt it was very cheesy in the way the effects were done, and I guess, I don't know, like, it was very campy, I found. A bit too campy for me.
I thought the effects was done on purpose because it's Lovecraft, like budget Lovecraft, like B-movie style type thing.
Yeah, I guess it didn't deliver what I expected from it. Like, the themes it was playing with were fantastic, especially mixing in all the racial tension and whatnot. Like, the scariest parts of the show were the parts with where they were driving through that Sundown County and the cops were fucking with them and all that. That was top notch. But
I think it's done on purpose where it's like the humans are more scary than the monsters.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's just, it wasn't for me, I don't find.
I dropped off, but not for any reason. Then I started reading a book and I was like, I just put the show on pause because I don't know. I started reading the book, so I just paused watching the show.
How far through the book are you?
I think, I'm like a quarter.
Yeah, because I've been reading the show follows the same sort of format. I don't know if it's true or not, that each chapter is its own sort of like vignette.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
so the show structure is kind of strange, and I've seen a lot of like negative opinions about it. I think because of that. And
the one thing the book has is that obviously all the B-movie special effects, you can imagine them to look as good.
Yeah, that's it. I guess, yeah.
Like that, it kind of works out better. And also some of the, like, especially during the second episode, that has very like campy dialogue delivered by these, which I think again is on purpose. But obviously, when you're reading those characters delivering dialogue in the book, even though it reads they're delivering it in a certain sort of way, I'm not reading it as campy as they deliver it in the show.
That's it.
So and I'll probably keep reading the book and then come back to the TV show because I think they're both okay so far as I've got, but I'm really intrigued by the whole concept of the book and the show. Like the whole idea of just taking Lovecraft and everything everyone loves about Lovecraft, which is his creation of monsters, but then turning that on the head of he was a super racist dude and like interweaving that. Yeah, it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I bought the book intending to read it, but once I started watching the show, I was like, oh, well, I really like this, so I put it on the back burner.
It's only like 300 pages or something.
Yeah, it's only a short book too, yeah. But currently I'm reading like that trilogy that they're making that Netflix show out of soon.
Which one?
The one with Dumber and Dumber. That making that.
The Chinese
one.
3-Body Problem.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't complain because
I believe their names are Benioff and Weiss, by the way.
It's funny because I paused the TV show, start reading the book, but then I also paused reading the book because I decided I'd go read the Mist short story, which I've never read, so that's what I'm currently reading. I can't help myself. I just pause things and go do something else.
Something you did follow through on. We both watched the Comey Rule and miniseries that came to Stan. I believe it was Showtime in America. Based on the book by James Comey. So take that. Go in with that.
What are you trying to say, Ash? What are you trying to say? That he's...
Oh, I thought you were saying I watched something. I was like,
no, it was me.
Fucking watching that.
Me and Dylan. Based on the book A Higher Loyalty, written by James Comey, follows former FBI director James Comey in the lead up to the 2016 election. You probably know him best for his involvement in the Hillary Clinton emails, and then follows on till his eventual sacking by Donald Trump. I think it's an interesting watch, especially for us who are probably a bit more removed from the election cycle, and obviously it being a few years removed from the actual events. It definitely seemed like they were trying to paint James Comey as the hero of the story, and paint him in a favorable light, even though everybody kind of blames him to a certain degree for Donald Trump being the president of the United States of America. I think Jeff Daniels is really good, even though it's hard to distance his role here to his role in the newsroom. I thought there were a lot of similarities in character-wise and that kind of thing. Brendan Gleeson plays Donald Trump. Interesting watch.
Yeah, that is a very interesting casting too.
I mean, he looks like him. Exaggerated. There's a lot of exaggeration of Donald Trump. There's a lot of like sly digs at him and that kind of thing. I think, like subtle things and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I liked it. I don't think it's an amazing series. I don't think it's going to be like talked about for awards contention this time next year. But yeah, it's a interesting watch, even though it was a little propaganda-y.
Yeah, I find with very like politically motivated stories and even shows, books and movies, if they're too recent to the actual event, I find them very, I guess, they're very strong biases behind it, and they're not telling a very, I guess, true to life story maybe. But this is only a generalization. I can't speak for this in particular, but I just tend to avoid very recent kind of things that tackle very recent events.
I think obviously this was made to put out a certain message out there, and I think if you go in knowing that it's obviously biased, it's an entertaining watch, and if people watching this, if anyone watching this helps them turn on Trump, then fucking good on this for existing, as far as I'm concerned, you know. And even if you read into it, the fact that they were apparently originally going to release this after the election, and then Jeff Daniels said that he would refuse to promote it unless they put it out before the election. Obviously, that reads as Jeff Daniels wants this to be used as a political tool to help get a certain idea out there about Trump and how he may be in ties with Russians and the involvement in an election and whatever, because that's what this mainly focuses on. It is Hillary's emails, plus and also how Trump is in bed with Russia, and that's a bad thing. Like, full stop, you know, kind of. It's got some kind of corny dialogue at times. It's over the top. It's almost like melodramatic, but it's entertaining. I'll give it that. Like, it's definitely not going to win any Emmys, and I think a lot of the time the dialogue comes across, especially from certain characters, as dumber because this is trying to be pushed on average Joe Schmo audience rather than people who may be a little bit more invested into already knowing more about what actually happened, and they would be able to understand dialogue that doesn't sound like it's been written like a 10-year-old's Romeo and Juliet play. But that's what we got. And Brendan Gleeson, I kind of enjoyed. Like, his performance is silly. But I guess the difference between that and like Alec Baldwin is Alec Baldwin does a good impression, but you get him in and you can get a bit more of a nuanced performance where you're able to get scenes with him sitting across from the table, and you just the fact that there's scenes where he's just sitting there fiddling with stuff like a child, and he's able to get across the whole idea that Donald Trump is just fucking, his mind's always elsewhere, when he should probably be paying attention to what the FBI is saying to him in the scene, and he's just thinking about something completely different. The scene where him and Comey sit down for dinner one night, and then that's just a whole awkward scene to watch where Trump's just eating this food and like, oh my goodness, I know fine China, I know this and all this. It's right for kind of laughing at stuff you probably shouldn't be laughing at, but I don't know. Like, I enjoyed watching it. I can't put it down because I did enjoy watching it. So
yeah, So about 2 hour episodes. It was much shorter than I thought it was going to be like a few weeks that it was going to be.
I thought it was supposed to be 4 episodes. I remember reading something and swearing it was supposed to be 4 episodes. The second episode finished, and I was like, well, that's a weird finish for the second episode. It feels like the whole series is over. And I got up and I'm like, oh, there's only 2 episodes. Right, okay, I guess that explains why.
That makes more sense. Yeah. So let's touch on a documentary series you watched that kind of is fitting. All in the Fight for Democracy. What's that one about?
So this is obviously, again, this came out a couple weeks ago. It's come out right before the election because it's the time it should be coming out to help people understand certain things about election. And I thought this was a really good documentary. I can see obviously people from the right hating this thing with passion because of everything it points out, but it basically takes a look at voter suppression throughout America from the heyday of, everyone but white people who own property were allowed to vote, and then how, they go over how different points in time the Constitution was updated and all these other things, and then how certain states in America then started using certain terminology or rules to still kind of keep, you can only vote if you're able to give ID, and then they explain how in certain places the poor people, they lose their ID and then it costs money to get a new one, so then they're not willing to pay $100 to get a new ID because it's either pay for a new ID or pay for food on your table, and how that's a form of voter suppression for the poor in America, and obviously the certain states in America, they focus on how these are the very white red states who are trying to lean on these voter suppression things to obviously keep out the rather big majority of black people that live in those places as well, and I thought it was super interesting. One of the main people in it is Stacey Abrams, who I can't remember exactly which state she was running for, but she was running for governor there, and they go how they kind of cover her run and how she was out everywhere getting super popular and all these sorts of things, and then her opposition basically was also running in opposition to her, but somehow was also the person in charge of running the whole, counting the votes or whatever. He was on the board for that while also running as our opposition, and they put out how in any other state that wouldn't even be possible, but it's the weird things that happen. And I guess by the time I reached the end of it, it just made me, not to say that I didn't already appreciate it, but by the time I reached the end of it, it just sort of makes me appreciate that I don't have to go through or fight for my vote in Australia, and how it kind of annoys me in America whenever I see people say shit like, oh, I don't like Trump or any Bernie or whoever it was, it was always people I'm not going to vote for anyone unless it's this person, and now they're talking about how they just won't vote because fuck that. And I'm and you watch something like this and you see how so many people struggle to get their right to vote, and how some people are willing to just throw it away and don't kind of appreciate that when so many people are fighting for it. They even have interviews with people in here talking about how they was crying the first time they were able to vote, older generations, and they took the interview one woman who was when she officially got the go ahead that she would be able to go vote, because she was a black woman. She was afraid that, as the history had been, she would go to vote for the first time and it would be a trick, and next second there would be people out trying to hose her down and all this sort of stuff, this old lady. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a very good documentary, but obviously my views also heavily align with the agenda for the documentary.
Then you also watched a movie called The Beach House. What's that one?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't watch that one. It was a weird. This is a Shudder original, I think, as well. I think I just randomly watched it. I was fucking editing something or whatever, but it's it's a horror movie because Shudder. This girl and her boyfriend go to this beach house, and they're having this. Then these other two people turn up, this older couple, and they're like, "Oh, your parents are stay here." And then instead of anyone leaving, they're like, "Oh, no problem. We'll all go stay here together." And then they smoke weed with these old people, and then shit gets weird, and all of a sudden there's like a weird mist covering the beach house, and I don't really know how to explain it. Like, it's a fucking weird movie. It feels like it was inspired by The Mist by Stephen King in some regard, I guess. It's odd. It's not scary. It has like one section that's pretty gory, and other than that, I was like, I don't really know. And I reached the end of the movie, and I'm like, I don't really understand what the point, or like the message. If there was a message, I think it's an environmental message. By the time I reached the end, I was like, I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. But I feel like this movie is trying to say, save the oceans or something. But no, I wouldn't suggest watching it. I don't like it.
So, would you say you've watched a fair bit of content from Shudder?
Yeah.
Would you say there's anything there worth subscribing to, even if it's just for a week or whatever?
Do you mean original content or like all up?
Or original, I guess.
Original, I wouldn't say they've hit like the massive, like, I don't think there's anything that's worth the price of submission so far on the original side of stuff, but I feel like there's enough in their other catalogue. And they're slowly building stuff, like they're adding more to it, but even what there is now, I think you could subscribe for a week or so, and there's enough like really good horror movies, if you haven't watched them, to dig through, that they've got in the library there, from classics like the Day of the Deads and stuff, all up until some more recent horror movies like The Guest and Goodbye Mummy and some other things like that. So it's okay, and I think the other good thing about it that I'm really enjoying, that as much as its content is lacking in some terms, I just love how different it is. I love that sometimes I can turn it on my TV and it has that 24-hour running like station that's randomly playing shit, and I can just turn that on in the background and be like, oh, it's playing The Guest. I guess I'll just watch this in the background because it's on. I kind of appreciate how different it is to the other ones.
It makes you wonder why other streaming services don't do something like that.
Disney at least just added that watch stuff together on Disney Plus feature, which I thought was good to see. Like they're starting to play around.
What was that exactly?
Group party or something.
Yeah, I haven't looked up exactly how it works.
Yeah, Group Watch. Yeah,
Group Watch. But
because I logged into it the first time since The Mandalorian ended, and just to cancel my subscription. But yeah, they added that. And
aren't you not watching season 2?
Yeah, I will, but I don't think it's worth subscribing for another year of. I might just wait till it's all done, subscribe for a month, and then watch it all.
Madness.
Because I subbed for The Mandalorian, and I have not touched Disney Plus since.
Did you pay for a year out for?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so did I.
Because I thought I would use it a whole lot more than what I did, because I was also expecting all the Marvel stuff and everything to come through, but obviously that never happened.
Well, there's been a delay, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I can't fault it for that, but I think just with how many streaming services I have at the moment, I might just go to a month-by-month basis kind of thing.
Yeah. That's fair.
That's fair. So yeah, Nick, you've been away a while. I've got a long list of stuff I want to talk to you about.
Yep.
Let's talk about the biggest movie of the summer. Arguably the biggest movie, of the American summer, I guess. The biggest movie of the last few months, Tenet. Obviously, the only big release this year. What do you think?
Bill and Ted.
Did you see Bill and Ted?
No, I didn't.
All right. Tenet, what do you think?
I really, really enjoyed it. Look, my biggest issue with it is the same issue I've had with a lot of other fucking Christopher Nolan movies, is not being able to hear the fucking dialogue. Yeah,
wow, I did such amazing.
Did you just breathe on me, sir?
I did such amazing job in post making those sound effects on your voices.
Yeah, they just fucking turned a blender on when they were fucking re-recording the audio. But yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. I really found, I guess, the story it was telling very unique in a way. Just the way I don't know, I won't go into spoilers here, but just the way they did everything. The visuals were really, I found, stunning. I guess not exactly as in I guess, the technical aspects, but the way it all like worked in action. Yeah, I didn't find the lore or the story too particularly difficult to follow, as I saw a lot of people saying.
Damn right.
Like, I thought it was actually quite basic.
Yeah.
Like,
it would have helped if you could understand the dialogue.
Yeah, but even still, like, just by the actions and the sequence of events, it wasn't hard to follow, I found, anyway.
Exactly. I think I've been saying this is really the core story, the core like basis of what happens is pretty fucking easy to understand as far as I'm concerned. If you want to delve further and be like, okay, well, who actually created this or did this or what, I'm like, okay, look, we don't have answers to everything, but the core story, not that hard to follow.
The plot, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a film that is worth just watching at surface value too. Like, if you go looking for all those answers, I don't think you'll find them, in a way. Like, they present the story as is and leave all the side details out of it, I guess.
And people...
Because all those other questions you want to know aren't really pertinent to the plot of what's going on.
And people are always like, oh, well, they're left open for a sequel. But like, why does everything that's left open have to mean there's a sequel? Why can't some stuff just be left open because we don't actually need to know? Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, like Inception's open for a sequel.
Yeah.
I guess you could make that argument.
I bet you could probably find articles from back in 2010.
100%, yeah. Oh, we don't know. There's going to be another movie.
Yeah, the spin. What does the spinning top stop or not? It means there's a sequel. That's what it means.
Yeah, like, I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was a lot more people are sour on it than I expected it being, but they have their opinion. I liked it. I think it's one of his better movies.
But I've seen people say that Highway Chase wasn't exciting, and I'm like, were you fucking blind?
I thought it was really exciting.
Yeah. Fucking great.
Yeah. How about you tell us about the very excellent Mr. Dundee?
It's garbage. That's all I want to say about that. Absolute fucking trash.
That's what I thought it would be, but also he's trash these days anyway, so.
Yeah, he is, yeah. It was one of those movies like, oh, old people aren't what you think they are. They've still got their fucking, they're still, I guess, like, good, I guess. I mean, not the saying that old people are worthless, but it's like, the young people don't fucking, they underestimate us, they treat, And there was a lot of, like, fucking, like, wink racist kind of stuff, like, he was saying something and people are taking it out of context, or, it's just really
Who'd
bad.
have thought a movie with Mel Gibson? Archival footage. I'm ready for the cast. But if you look at the cast,
who would have thought a film with archival footage of Mel Gibson would be terrible?
Mel Gibson, Chevy Chase, fucking John Cleese, Paul Hogan. You got your who's who of don't treat old people bad in here.
Yeah. Look, granted, it has a handful of funny moments, but it's definitely not worth sitting through the whole movie for.
Why don't we talk about Devs, the Alex Garland TV series, limited series, that debuted earlier this year?
It did. I really wanted to watch it because I like Alex Garland and what he's done. It stars Nick Offerman, and there's a bunch of other familiar faces there, but I can't remember their names.
Alison Pill.
Yeah, the girl from the newsroom.
Alison Pill.
Yeah, her.
Scott Pilgrim, the drummer.
Yeah.
So basically what the promise is there's this tech, like Silicon Valley tech company, and Nick Offerman is the head of the company, and they're creating an algorithm that lets you see into the past and the future, and I guess his way, like, they keep it very vague throughout, like, what his actual motivations are, and it's about this. There's two opposite sides of the story. There's this girl whose boyfriend got in, but then he went missing, so she's trying to infiltrate it, and they're developing the program, and it's like they could see into the future, but towards the climax of the plot, like, they can only see up to a certain point in the future, so it gets to this point and they don't know what's going to happen. I thought it was really, really interesting and visually very striking. It had some great set pieces and like almost like a color scheme of the modern Deus Ex games, like the black and gold kind of thing in a lot of the techie kind of stuff. I thought it was very heady, like very, I guess, thought-provoking. Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. It's if you're looking for a sci-fi kind of show. I don't even remember where I watched it. Was it on Fox?
On Foxtel, I think.
Oh, but it was on Foxtel.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get a lot more buzz than what it did, especially regarding the pedigree of who made it and who starred in it.
I was really excited for it, and I came into this year going really excited for that. Can't wait for that to come out. And then I remember it, like a week or so after it had been out, seeing something briefly, some website write about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's out now!" Like, I don't remember seeing any promotion, and I don't recall seeing fuck all like press coverage at all. Either,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I think that's why I guess there wasn't much hype. A lot of people maybe don't even know. Hey, the guy who did Ex Machina and Annihilation and whatever else did a TV series. You should be excited about that. It didn't get much coverage, which is weird.
Let's touch on Westworld. Obviously, that season started right around the time the pandemic hit.
That wasn't this
set
year,
to do. Yeah, they brought one episode of this season of Bevanworld before we had to unfortunately cancel that due to your changing work schedule. But what do you think of Westworld?
I really, really enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting it to be, but at the same token, I enjoyed what it was. God, it's hard to even remember a whole lot about it.
Aaron Paul, who is he? Was he secretly this person? Oh, recruited by Rachel Evan Wood. What's happening now?
Yeah. I think the thing I liked particularly the most about it was seeing, I guess, the real world and the way it looks in this future kind of setting, and just the way the sci-fi, cyberpunky kind of stuff works. Marshawn Lynch was in it. That was awesome. But yeah, like it I don't think I'm hungry for more of it.
Too
the way it ended.
You're getting it.
Yeah, I think there could have been they could have made a perfectly serviceable ending in this season. Yeah, but I'm afraid they're going to try and push it and I guess sour my opinion of it.
They can't stretch it much there. They're like,
no, they have to wrap it up soon.
You also checked out Upload, the new series from Greg Daniels on Prime Video, starring Robbie Amell. What's that one about?
It's basically about I don't know if it's the future or current times, but they have the ability to upload your consciousness just before death into like a virtual, I guess, heaven. And it's about this guy, he dies in a accident and his mind gets uploaded into his girlfriend's family's, because the way that the afterlife, in brackets, works in this particular world is like your living family pays for it, kind of like a subscription service, and everything's monetized in these worlds full of adverts and stuff. And this guy gets uploaded after this accident, and he forms a relationship with, because they have the people that work for these companies that are guardian angels in the world, like providing them, I guess, with services, emotional support, all that kind of stuff. They're the company's representatives in this digital afterlife, and I guess it's about him trying to cope with that, and I guess in a way finding out how he got killed. I thought it was quite charming. All the chemistry between the leads was great. It was very funny at times. I don't think I guess it's a comedy drama, you could say, but yeah, I thought it was very interesting, very, I guess, unique. I think this concept's been done before, but it's unique in the way they did it, and I think it was quite a good story. I think people should check it out. Especially if you've got Prime, you've really got nothing to lose, really.
Let's see. You checked out a series called Kirby Jenner. What's that one?
Yes. So it was on Quibi when that was a thing.
Still is,
still
hey.
a thing. Yeah. It come in under my 3-month free trial. So basically what Kirby Jenner is there's this guy on Instagram and he says he's a twin with Kendall Jenner, and he photoshops himself into Kardashian photos and stuff. And so they made like a show around that. I mean, they were like 6-10 minute episodes. I thought they were quite funny. I watched it with Stacey because she was clued into that Instagram page, but I think it was quite funny the way he interjects himself into like scenes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I think they actually got Kendall Jenner in to shoot some of it as well, a couple of the episodes, but I thought it was quite funny. There were just the wackiness of it in a way. Like, I guess you have to be in the pocket for making fun of the Kardashians, which I guess a lot of people are, but it's definitely not worth signing up to Quibi for, unless that 3-month trial still going.
It's free now. Just have ads.
It's free with ads.
Oh, yeah, well, fuck it. Check it out. Like, it's 10-minute episodes, 6, you're not really missing much, and I thought it was quite funny.
Well, now that we're on Kipperwee, we might as well... Was there anything in particular other than The Most Dangerous Game, which you provided a review for, that you enjoyed?
Nothing that I watched completely through.
But you did watch Most Dangerous Game.
I did watch Most Dangerous Game. There were a few other shows that I watched, but that was before you could Chromecast it, so I was like, when I'm sitting down to actually watch them, I think I'll just fucking watch something on the TV instead at that time, but now you can cast it. It's, I might go back and check some of it now that I know that it's free.
Yep. All right. I saw that you caught up on Dark, the Netflix series.
I think I binged all 3 seasons.
Dylan was raving about it. What do you think of Dark?
I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of the best TV shows that I've seen in recent memory. The fact that it was in German subtitles didn't really take me out of it at all. I guess some people have problems with that, but I think it was a very touching story. The last episode I cried in it. I thought it was very emotional. Just how tight the storytelling is, like everything's interconnected with everything else, and there didn't, at least from my perspective, seem to be any glaring holes. Like everything was tight-knit and thought out, I guess, in advance, if that's how they made it, but it certainly felt that way. It's just, a phenomenal show. I think everybody should check it out.
The best thing about that show is I remember coming into season 3 and I'm like, okay, so it's going to fall apart in its last season because there's just so many moving elements and stuff that's been introduced that you're like, there's no way this could all come together in a satisfying way.
Every episode was like, oh, how the fuck are they going to get out of this? Yeah. And something unexpected happens every time and you're like, oh, fuck, you just get blown away.
And by the time you reach that final episode, it not only is it like super emotional, but it does make everything that happened before, like, it makes sense and it works. And I'm like, you can't help but just like, well, you did it. Good job. One of the good sci-fi shows that didn't go to crap.
And there's no real, like, every single character has an aspect of them that you can understand the motivations. There's no, like quote unquote
bad
textbook
guys.
Fucking antagonists. Yeah. Every character feels human and believable in everything that they do.
You also watched Succession. What did you think of that?
So I was catching up on my what did we end up watching segment. Because you just watched one episode of that, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. I really loved it. The acting was phenomenal. I guess at the time you both said that I would love it, and I ended up loving it, especially the subject matter it was tackling with a billionaire media mogul family, and every single character is an absolute fucking shitheel. You don't feel sympathy for any of them, but yeah, it definitely, I guess, from my perspective, portrays accurately how little they care for the common folk, and they just conquer everything. Everything has to be in their favour, kind of thing. But terrifically acted, terrifically written. I think it's definitely worth watching, especially if you hate the Murdochs.
Another show that I expect you probably enjoyed a great deal. The Catherine the Great Russian TV series.
written by the same guy that wrote The Favourite,
Yep.
I believe. Yep.
Tony McNamara.
And what, sorry?
Tony McNamara. That's who it is.
Oh, his name, yeah. That dude. Yeah, it's a 10-part, I want to say, series
episodes,
about, in the same vein as The Favourite, it's like telling the story of the Catherine the Great's rise to power in a comedy drama kind of setting, starring Ellie Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. A few other actors, notable actors that I can't remember the name of. But yeah, it's incredibly funny, incredibly well written. Like, the history isn't 100% accurate, but I can let that slide as it's not trying to tell it that way.
I believe in the opening credit thing it says...
Yeah, they say it's based on a true story mostly or something like that.
Mostly, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's incredibly funny. Like, Nicholas Hoult and Ellie Fanning, they're terrific. They disappear into their roles. Like Dylan said, Nicholas Hoult plays a very similar character as The Favourite on Twitter.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it a whole lot more than The Favourite. Like,
it's ramped up a lot more.
Yeah, the Favourite I didn't particularly love, but this one I think just knocks it out of the park, especially into the style of story they're trying to tell.
This show is the quirky comedy side of The Favourite, just taken up to 200.
Yeah.
And it loses a lot of the Favourite had a lot more serious moments because it was like trying to tell a story of this woman who was obviously in need of help, and she had a lot of mental health issues, and that's what you call them today, and that needed to be touched in a serious tone. Whereas this is just having a lot more fun. Like, so far, I'm 7 episodes in. Like, I don't think it's had a particularly properly serious moment yet, and I'm not saying that as a negative, but that's just kind of what separates it from the Favourite movie.
Yeah. So if for those who don't know, Catherine the Great got married into Tsar Nicholas II. No, Tsar Nicholas I.
Don't ask us.
Anyway, the Russia at the time was very, I guess, what you would expect from that time, like male-centric, very
noble
not
class,
very liberated, where she comes in with all these liberating kind of ideas and her plot to kind of take the throne.
Every liberating idea. Oh, it sounds French.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially if you're a fan of that particular kind of history, I think you'll get an extra kick out of it.
Yeah. You also watched the Nicolas Cage film, Color Out of Space, based on a H.P. Lovecraft short story.
That came out quite a while ago, but I bought it when it first was released in Australia. I've been waiting to see it for quite a while. It's a fantastic adaptation of the story. Like, for anyone who has read it, would be an insanely difficult kind of story to adapt, because it's about a colour completely foreign to human perception. Like, it's like nothing anyone could ever imagine, but the way they portrayed it in this film was quite, I guess, believable. And so basically what it's about is an asteroid hits this family farm, and it slowly starts to corrupt the family and everything around it, and it's basically telling the family's slow descent into madness and getting corrupted and whatnot. And Nicolas Cage takes it up to 11, but it's not campy. I guess it fits into the theme of the movie, just the madness and corruption of everything. Like, I think it's quite a good movie. It also has Tommy Chong in it, I believe, which come out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it, but I guess if you're a fan of cosmic horror, and especially his writings, it's definitely worth checking out. I think it's one of the best Lovecraft adaptations that I've seen.
I plan on watching it because everyone says it is the best Lovecraft adaptation, and it's technically would fall under... It's a 2020 release for us in Australia, so I should watch it before we do any award shit.
The year stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if you're not already in the wheelhouse for that kind of those kind of stories or that kind of storytelling adaptation kind of thing, I don't think you'll appreciate it as much as I do personally, but I think it's still a good movie in its own right.
Then I saw you watched The Lighthouse. Is there a more appropriate coronavirus pandemic live-at-home movie?
Oh, I watched it and The Witch by the same director and writer this year, and my God, it's phenomenal. Just the attention to detail in the way behind the scenes and the way that they researched and the director made them speak in the exact kind of tone and tenor and cadence of how they spoke at the time. So it's very period accurate in that sense. It's about two lighthouse keepers, Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. They're out on their, their shift out on the Lighthouse Island, which is, I don't know if it's a few weeks or a few months at a time, and them just dealing with each other, and I guess in the same vein as The Colour Out of Madness, the slow descent into madness, and shit going on that you don't know if it's real or not, or what actually happens. It's all left open to interpretation, but it's, I guess, one of the best acted movies I've seen this year. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe just knock it out of the park. The way that it's shot too, because they shot it on, I forget what size film, so it's all letterbox, not letterbox, but like 4:3 aspect ratio, and the way they use camera techniques and stuff to frame certain things, and it's all black and white too, so it's just the way that they use lighting and composition to just tell this story is just like unlike anything I've ever seen.
You also watched Outlaw King, starring Chris Pine?
Yeah, I watched that kind of recently because I was been addicted to Crusader Kings 3 lately. It tells the story of Robert the Bruce, I guess, after the period of, I guess, William Wallace. He's in hiding at this point in time in history. It's like, is not entirely historically accurate, but it gets the same feeling. It's about after William Wallace gets defeated and all that Braveheart stuff, the kings of Scotland and like the clan leaders submit fealty to the King of England. And then it's about the English crown mistreating Scotland and all that, and Robert the Bruce and his family rising up again to fight for their own Scottish independence, and I guess the internal politics with all the clan and I guess the consequences of, I guess, fighting back against oppressors. Yeah, I think it was quite good. I enjoyed it for what it was, because a lot of those historical drama films can be very hit and miss, but I think this one tackles it very well. It's a very slow movie. It's not all, I guess, what you would expect from a Gladiator or a Braveheart, like battle scenes, grand and epic. It's a much more personal story. Cool. But yeah, I think it's quite good, and I mean, it's on Netflix too, so...
and then you watched Space Force, and you seem to like that a fair bit.
Yeah, I really did like it. I think quite a lot of the negative feedback from it is a lot of people going in, seeing Steve Carell, and I think also one of the writers from The Office coming in, and they're expecting The Office like 2.0 or in a different setting, but it's a much different kind of comedy. It's, I guess, no, it's not serious, but it tackles, I guess, a niche kind of area of American, because the way he becomes a general of this newly formed Space Force by Trump, and throughout they have a lot of digs at Trump. They don't name him specifically, but like Twitter man and all that kind of stuff. But it tackles with a lot of like, I guess the way military organizations work with contractors and like interdepartmental kind of relations, and the way that they source kind of equipment and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have an interest in that, like that area of the world, but I think it would be lost on the general public, especially if you're going in expecting another office as well.
I think they were promoting it as an office, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't see any promotion about it, other than, I guess, one trailer, but I went into it, I guess, expecting what it was as well. I mean, there's no fault of your own going into it if that's how they sold it, but at the same token, you can't, I guess, criticise it for not being what you want it to be.
So that's on Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, let's get into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I checked out the film Enola Holmes, starring
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie
For
Bobby
fuck's
Brown.
sake, Ash. Get the hell out of here. I'm hosting from now on.
Henry Cavill, Sam Claflin, Fiona Shaw, and Helena Bonham Carter. Pretty much follows the adventures of Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, who's never mentioned in any of the stories because she's made up for this, and her trying to find her mother, who suddenly disappears on her 13th birthday or something like that. I can't remember the exact age, but 16th birthday. So yeah, it's an enjoyable film. Obviously, Millie Bobby Brown is really good in this. I think this is her best. Well, obviously she's really good in Stranger Things, but she gets to obviously stretch different muscles here and play a completely different character.
11's a lot more quieter and timid.
This is a bit more showy role, especially when it's directed by Harry Bradbeer, who did Fleabag, directed a lot of Fleabag, which is relevant for this because she breaks the fourth wall a lot in this and talks to the camera a lot throughout the movie. So that's obviously she endears you to her a lot through that mechanism and that kind of thing, and give her more of a thought process and that kind of thing. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Henry Cavill plays a really interesting Sherlock Holmes. Obviously, very different to the iterations we've seen recently through the Robert Downey Jr. films and the Benedict Cumberbatch TV show. A bit more nice. He's not a dick, so that's a bit of a different
change of pace
twist. I mean, Mycroft is a complete dick, so I mean that makes up for it. So, yeah, and the mystery feels solid. It feels like the kind of mysteries you would have seen as like a child in those kind of TV shows. Yeah, really enjoyable, worth checking out, I think. Then Dylan, you watched American Murder: The Family Next Door. I've been seeing a lot of talk about this one.
I didn't know anything about this, right? So I click play, turn on my TV, it's there. I'm like, yeah, I'm a sucker for a fucking murder Netflix murder doco. Here we go. Netflix knew to put it straight there as soon as I turned my TV on. It suckered me in. So I'll watch it. I'm not going to spoil. It feels weird when you're like, oh, spoil it because it's like true story, I guess. But I don't know. Anyway, it's totally fucked up. I think the weirdest thing about it, though, is that the documentary is presented entirely in a combination of police cam footage, what do they call the
Body cam.
Body cam, thank you. It's a combination of body cam police footage with Facebook videos posted by the family members, and also like text messages that were sent between one another and all these sorts of things. And that's all it uses. Like, there's no cutaways to like interviews. Like, it's kind of told in a, I would call, intrusive manner. Like, you feel weird watching it. It feels like you're watching home video a lot of the time because you actually are just watching home video. And obviously, even watching the body cam footage feels rather intrusive because
voyeuristic.
Yeah, voyeuristic. It feels very fucking voyeuristic, and it's like, I don't know if it's. I honestly can't decide if it's works in its favor or against it, because it's just it's off-putting to watch because you just feel kind of uncomfortable. And then given the fact that the whole doco is about this mother who disappears with her two children, and spoilers, she is dead. She was killed by someone, and obviously you find out who that is and the person who killed her, and it's how it all happened and how it went down is messed up, and especially because of the voyeuristic factor of it, and the fact that they keep interweaving Facebook videos of her, like her and the two daughters who and all. It's an uncomfortable watch, and I can't decide if I would suggest it or not. I guess if you're okay with watching exactly what I'm describing, and you think you can stomach the voyeuristic aspect of it, it's interesting. I can't say I've seen a documentary like it before, for good or bad, but yeah, it's just odd. It's very fucking weird, and I'm not sure if I'd like it or not.
So, what's the pacing like? Because it sounds like the pacing would be a nightmare.
So it's only like an hour. It's not quite 90 minutes. So luckily it doesn't drag on too long. But it basically cuts away often. Like, so the film starts with this body cam footage of like, because a friend turns up at the house and is like, oh, she's not here. So then they call the cop, and then the cop turns up, and then they have a lot of body cam footage of them looking around, and how he's explaining how he can't break into the house, and then the husband turns up and lets them in, and then all these other things. Like, you get to see people come and going, and you come back to that same day, that afternoon, as the cops walking around interviewing people. You come back to that footage quite often, but it's interweaving with, it'll cut away to then her Facebook videos of her, because apparently she must have filmed a lot and uploaded to Facebook, where she's talking to the camera and be like, oh, he's so and so, my husband's doing this today, or here the kids are doing this. And they'll interject to these, like, almost, they feel like YouTube videos, like vloggy type things, but it seems they were uploaded to her personal Facebook. And obviously they've got permission from the family to make this documentary, but so you can't feel too bad about watching it, but it just, yeah, it feels weird. So that's how they break up the pacing. That they cut every now and then between the body cam and these other footage, and it kind of rewinds time to the weeks leading up to her disappearance and what she was posting on Facebook in the lead up to then, because that's kind of important to her disappearance, and shows you these sorts of videos and tracks her. And then it often comes up with these messages, like, so her friend messaged her and being like, and like all these, they must have had access to her iCloud to get to like download all her messages. Yeah.
Is it narrated?
No.
It's very weird.
Yes.
Like, it sounds like you kind of have to work out what's going on for yourself.
It works. It actually does work. Like, I don't know how, but it does.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to watch it now, actually. I think it's in its favour in regards to... I think it has a lot more, I guess, outside... It'll make people watch it more as opposed to a general documentary when there's hundreds of them already.
Yes. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people, and it has kind of blown up because it only came out a couple of days ago. I've seen a lot of people tweeting about it, which I guess is what Ash is hinting at. It's one of those ones where people start watching it, and then they obviously a lot of people jump on Twitter and they're like, "This is fucked up," and you know, like blah blah blah. Yeah, it's like, and I guess the way it's shot, voyeuristic, that draws people in, I guess, more so than your typical documentary voiceover style stuff, I guess. Yeah.
So I watched a documentary on Netflix called Dick Johnson is Dead, filmed by Kirsten Johnston, who got a lot of acclaim for a documentary camera person. Pretty much follows her filming her father, who's a retired clinical psychiatrist who is suffering for dementia, and kind of tracks his journey in the last couple of years of his life, but also intercuts that with staged death scenes. Like, one stage she'll just fall down the stairs, and it's like a filmed bit. I don't know. It isn't exactly clear why, other than it's like an interesting way to tell the story of her father kind of slowly dying. I think it's a interesting piece, like it's sort of like a love letter to her father and that kind of thing, and sort of especially her mother also passed away after a long battle with Alzheimer's, and one of her regrets is she didn't have enough footage of her mother to remember her by. So I think this is like something for a very personal project to a certain degree. But yeah, it's an interesting watch. But I'm not sure many people get much out of it. I feel like it might be too personal for a lot of people to enjoy, like the mass people. So yeah, interesting one to check out. Dylan, you watched a documentary called Crip Camp. What's that one?
This was quite interesting. I don't remember who this came out this year. I think I don't know. I want to check because it came out earlier this year. So this is probably one of the better documentaries I've watched that released this year as well. was trying to find the actual name of it, but I'd say the official synopsis on IMDb simply says, down the road from Woodstock, a revolution blossomed at a ramshackle summer camp for teenagers with disabilities, transforming their lives and igniting a landmark movement. So the movie starts with, I don't remember whose idea it is or who does it, but someone decides, we're going to run a camp where a bunch of people with all sorts of different sorts of disabilities can come together and they can have, we're all going to have a great time together. And they have interviews with them who are older now, and they talk about this camp like it was literally was Woodstock for people with disabilities. And they're all out there, just a lot of them who've never been away from their parents or their carers ever in their lives, and now out there just by themselves, making friends and having a great old time. But what follows after this camp is a lot of the people, because this is back in the 70s, a lot of these people then start getting together and starting a movement for rights and things to change in the way that people with disabilities are looked after and treated. And I mean, this is as simple as like trying to get ramps put in place, wheelchair access ramps put in places where they didn't belong, or other sorts of things. And what they do and the rallies they end up putting together, I think there's like, I can't remember exactly where it was, but towards the end, they end up like staying out at this government building for like 10 days. It's just them just camping out, a bunch of people just camping out there trying to get the, I can't remember the official governing person's name, to change a certain bill or right for these. I can't remember exactly what the official billing was for it, but it was super interesting because none of this I'd ever heard about, which is always good when you go into a documentary, because I feel like most of the time, a lot of the time you watch a documentary and you're like, yeah, I kind of already knew half this, but you end up watching it because you're intrigued by the subject matter, whereas I knew absolutely nothing about this other than the title, and it was there, and I click play, and I come out the other end going, wow, all these people who kind of changed and paved the way for just people with disabilities rights throughout not only America, but I guess the world through what they did. And I never even heard of these people. So, I would suggest watching this one. I thought it was really uplifting as well, obviously, to see all these people with different sorts of disabilities who have a very like, I'm not going to let this stop me from making a change and doing what I want to do. And I thought it was really good.
So I checked out the series Song Exploder on Netflix, based on a podcast called of the same name. It pretty much just breaks down the development of the different songs and that kind of things. So in this, it's a 4-part series that covers Alicia Keys' 3 Hour Drive, Lin-Manuel Miranda's Wait For It, REM's Losing My Religion, and Ty Dolla $ign's LA, and sort of goes into how they made the song and sort of a discussion about the different musical elements and inspirations, that kind of thing. If you've listened to the podcast, it is pretty much just a visual version of that. Obviously, so I enjoyed it. Interesting discussion is also obviously, interesting look into how those couple of songs were made in the backstories and what sort of things influence the stories and that kind of thing. I think probably the Alicia Keys one's the most interesting because it seems like they actually had cameras filming while they were doing the songwriting session, so they can actually provide that footage as part of the documentary, where everything else is kind of callbacks to the time in which they were recording and that kind of thing. I think the REM one's interesting as well because it also covers a bit of the history of REM at the start as well, to give a bit of context and that kind of thing into the making of that album in particular, which they pretty much said was they were 10 years into their careers. They wanted to make an album that wasn't necessarily going to be a commercial hit. It was going to be like a creative stretch and that kind of thing. So yeah, a really interesting series. They're like 30-minute episodes. Like a 2-hour time investment. So hopefully we get more of that. I think I won't otherwise just listen to the podcast. Available on probably the same service you'll listen to this podcast on.
Wow.
After you subscribe to all the Explosion Network podcasts first. Now follow up to something we talked about last episode. Ratchet. Dylan, you're really enjoying it. It seemed like last time we talked about it. You finished the series. What'd you think?
Now, let's be fair. I'd watched one episode and I said, yeah, it was all right. I'll keep watching it. It was fine. It kind of dove off the side of a cliff into a explosion and went out. I don't know. It started, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so it's kind of American Horror Story meets Nick somewhere. Like it's not super serious as Nick. Nick by the Nick, I mean, not Nick as in this podcast, as in KNICK, the historical drama. Yes, and that's kind of how it started. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll stay along for the ride. But by the time you get to the end of the season, it goes full American Horror Story. And look, I like some seasons of American Horror Story. Some other ones I think are just terrible. By the end of this season, it turns into a bad season of American Horror Story where I'm like, how the fuck did this character make this decision? Why did this thing happen? And who thought this was a good idea? Like, I feel like characters, like in particular, there's one character at the end who's just in such a position that I'm like, what? How and why did they decide to, like, it's just so stupid. Like, it takes you out of watching the show because it's so stupid. You can't help but start thinking about how stupid it is. That's how I would describe the end of the show. I doubt I'll watch season 2 if it ever happens because it's fucking ridiculous. No, it was a bad show. It was a bad show. They had the first maybe 3 or 4 episodes. I was like, yeah, I was kind of on board, and then it's just no. I can't remember. There's 2 episodes that are called Part 1 and Part 2. I think they're called like Angel something Part 1 and Part 2. Every episode after that it goes worse and worse and worse and worse until the last episode is just fucking terrible. So no, don't watch Ratchet. It's not good. Go watch One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest and just leave it as it is.
Was this nominated for any Emmys?
No, it only just came out.
It only just came out.
Oh, okay. I just saw it referenced in some Emmys article.
Was it people saying it's going to win an Emmy?
I think that article is actually what clued me into the show to begin with, because I had never heard of it before then.
Was it Emmy race for next year or something?
Yeah, I don't know, and I wish I had never heard of it.
All right, that's everything. Let's move into a little bit of news. Hey, slightly more future Ashley here. Before we get into the news, we're about to talk about Cineworld planning to close all their cinemas in the UK, as well as all their Regal cinemas in the United States, and what effect that has on the cinema scene for the next few months. We recorded this episode Monday the 5th of October. Pretty much that night, Cineworld confirmed that they will be closing all their Regal cinemas in the United States and the Cineworld cinemas in the UK. Also, in the days after, Dune was confirmed that they're going to be moving from their December 18th slot to October 1st, 2021. Interestingly, Wonder Woman is still sitting at Christmas Day, so it looks like Warner Brothers was more confident that a tentpole movie would work, but maybe not 2 at the same time. So, also Monster Hunter moved forward into December, so that's an interesting move by Sony. So, that's something. And also Glow got cancelled, the Netflix wrestling TV show, after a confirmed 4th season earlier this year. Very disappointing. Understandable given the current constraints of filming at the moment, but to completely cancel the show and not like leave it open for a potential 4th season down the line, I understand maybe they just didn't want to give people any hope, and then one day they'll pick it back up, but yeah, very disappointing. Alright, that's all from me. Enjoy the rest of the show. So as I joked about at the start of the episodes, the next James Bond film, No Time to Die, has been delayed, moved till April next year, but it seems to have some interesting ramifications. According to several sources, Cineworld, who own Regal cinemas in America, as well as various chains in the UK, are set to close all their cinemas in the wake of No Time to Die being pushed, which would see some 542 cinemas in America close, as well as several in the UK. Interesting statement that the CEO made earlier in the year to put it in perspective. He said, in June, research shows how much people miss the cinemas. We are thrilled to be back. With great movies ahead, including Mulan, Tenet, A Quiet Place Part 2, Wonder Woman 84, No Time to Die, Black Widow, Soul, Top Gun and Maverick, and many more. We at Regal are committed to, as always, to be the best place to watch a movie. So pretty much every single movie on that list has been delayed or released VOD or was Tenet.
Basically, all these companies are saying fuck everything but American market.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think obviously Tenet was the litmus test to see how it would do financially. At time of recording, it's currently sitting at $307 million worldwide, making it the third highest grossing film of the year.
What's 1 and 2?
Number 2 is Bad Boys for Life, sitting at $424 million. Interestingly, the top movie is called The 800, which is a Chinese film that released sometime in August. So that's interesting. But obviously, we're at a position where all the studios are pretty much not wanting to send movies into cinemas, and cinemas are obviously closing in other places. But does this have a run-off effect of when are we going to get more big blockbuster movies here in Australia and elsewhere if they're scared about opening anywhere? I mean, it seems like it's going to be somebody's going to have to pull the pin. And currently the biggest releases coming up here in Australia, at least, are Dune and Wonder Woman 1984.
Wait, was that
both
Dune or June?
Dune.
June.
Doesn't matter. Coming at the end of December. How are you guys feeling? Are we going to see any more big films for the foreseeable future? Or are we fucked?
I feel like a lot more cinemas are going to close, particularly in America, and then Disney's going to buy them all. Because if all the cinemas, independent cinemas,
I will say I
close,
don't believe they are legally allowed to do that. I believe there's legal things in place to stop studios buying cinema chains in America. Just to put it down.
They'll create a company and then Disney will buy it out once they've already bought all the cinemas. But anyway, I guess we're beholden of what they decide to do. If the American market is the only one they really care about, then I guess we're shit out of luck. But at the same token, like, they can't hold onto these films forever and not make any money. So I guess they have to release them sometime. Because if they all decide to release around the same time, they're just eating each other's lunch, drinking each other's milkshake.
Oof. Dylan, how do you feel about the state of cinemas?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the same. They can keep pocketing these movies and hoping that they can make big money, but no one knows when America's going to be okay, if ever again. So, they're looking for a short-term solution when by now they should have realized that playing this whole delaying game is not the best way to go about it. Like, they should have, by now they should be well past this point.
I think I think they're fine to delay it. I don't think it's long term going to have any effect. I don't. Obviously, they're just not getting any money from it. It's just kind of sitting there in the waiting to be sent pile. And I guess they're just waiting for the best moment. Yeah, but they could be
waiting another 12 months for all we know, or more. Like,
it could be. It's just unfortunate for obviously cinema chains everywhere else in the world who can show stuff and don't have anything to show.
If all the cinema chains in America shut and then there's nowhere to show the movies, no one will be laughing then.
No one's going to go watch a movie during a civil war.
Yeah, all that. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting also this week, 4 films that were set to be theatrical releases in America have been announced for VOD. The Robert Zemeckis' The Witches, Borat 2, The Craft Legacy, and Greenland are all set to go to VOD.
To be fair, did anyone ever know Borat 2 was a film until a week ago? So
No, that's
and
true.
Didn't Amazon... Isn't Amazon releasing that?
They are releasing that. I don't know if it's worldwide. There is a chance that it could come to cinemas here in
No,
Australia.
it's Prime.
Similar.
I think.
It is
Yeah.
Prime?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, probably The Witches may, because that's going to HBO Max, which would be a similar story to American Pickle, which I watched last episode. So that's something. Also, Craft Legacy is still sitting on my cinemas list, so there's a chance that might be coming to cinemas. So, yeah, it is a pretty sad state of affairs at the moment. So,
Yeah, like a lot of my local cinemas are just rerunning older films.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, what are you going to do
Are
about
you
it?
are you confident that we're going to get Dune in December, or do
I
you
hope
think
so.
that'll be pushed?
Or if it does get pushed, it'll give me a chance to read the book. So...
You've had 6 months where you haven't been doing the show. You haven't
Who's producing that? What?
Warner Brothers, who
Okay.
I think
Yeah. I'll say they release. I mean, they've got that.
Who did Tenet?
Warner
Yeah.
Brothers.
So
Yeah, well, yeah.
Are they willing to take the risk?
I think
Are they
Look, if
willing
they
to
took
get
a
bitten
risk with
twice?
Tenet, I don't think Dune is going to be as big as what Tenet
No.
possibly was going to be. I think it's going to be another Blade Runner 2049 situation.
so. I'll say that and Wonder Woman both release because Warner Brothers has already said like, fuck it, we'll release it where we can.
And they're like, no competition from Marvel. Fuck yeah. Take this while it lasts.
Basically.
Yeah. I will say on the No Time to Die thing, very amusing. Obviously, there was news reports they were releasing a podcast. They released the first episode 3rd of September. 4th of October, they had to announce the podcast was delayed.
Didn't earlier in the year No Time to Die said they'll be releasing no matter what, or what, something like that?
I'm sure people said many things early in the year.
People
No,
said
but
a lot of
I
stuff.
thought the studio come out and said something. I may be
Don't know.
misremembering.
Do not know.
Can't. It's been a long year. Who knows what people said at what points? Okay, interesting story coming out of Disney. Barry Jenkins, director of Moonlight and If Beale Street Can Talk, is set to direct a sequel to Jon Favreau's The Lion King. What were your initial impressions when you got this news?
I saw it on Twitter and I thought it came from a fake news story. Because Barry Jenkins directs the sequel to Lion King sounds like a fake news story. And it still sounds like a fake news story as I'm saying it, so that's how I feel about it.
They are really fucking going to the mattresses with these fucking live action
They make a lot of
adaptations,
money,
aren't
apparently. I don't know.
they? Is it gonna be The Lion King 2 made live action, or is it gonna be its own?
It's going to be
sequel?
its own thing. Rumor has it, it's going to both be a sequel to The Lion King 2, but also be an origin story for Mufasa.
Oh, God.
Which-
Well, I've never
which
seen a live
everybody's
action
brought up.
Disney movie.
Everybody
never
brought
will.
up Godfather Part 2 as like a reference for the type of storytelling they could potentially do.
Please don't say that again. Barry
As
Jenkins.
long as they have the cast from Godfather Part 2, then that's it. James Caan and... no, he's not in the
No.
second one.
Joe fucking Joe
Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino.
Yeah. No, this sounds terrible. But yeah, there you go. We'll see if it happens. I would, so Moonlight, love. Lion King, hate. Nah. Not excited. There's my thoughts. That's a haiku.
I want to know how much it's going to be on Disney Plus to watch.
$32.99.
And how much I'm not going to pay to watch
Yeah,
it.
you're not going to pay to watch it. By the way, Lion King, they say it's not really, it's not a live action remake. There's apparently one shot of live action in the whole movie, so.
I guess it's the way to encompass the realistic
Yeah.
type of retellings.
I'm more positive on this.
You would be.
Obviously,
Of course
Barry
you are.
Jenkins is...
Of course you are. You like Game of Thrones season 8.
obviously, Barry Jenkins, very good director. I think it will help to be completely removed from the... It won't be compared to the original, you know? It will stop the comparison. You won't be beholden to that.
You say
don't
that.
have to have all the songs and the moments and that kind of stuff. You can do something completely different and original. It'll be interesting to see if it is a musical, the second one. Surely it has to be. Who's going to write the songs?
I reckon they should
I mean,
incorporate some elements from The Lion King 3 into this one, personally.
Is it going to be canon with the Lion King Pride TV show, children's animated show they've got running at the moment? All these
big
questions that we need answered.
Are Timon and Pumbaa back? Because they were the only good parts of the whole movie.
Surely, if it's a split story, they've got to be in the future part. I mean, it makes sense with the cast that they assembled why you would try and make a second one. Maybe Beyonce writes all the music for the second movie.
Yeah, that's a selling point, I guess.
Yeah. No, Beyonce, Donald Glover write all the music for the second movie.
I mean, you've sold me. That's
See?
the only way I watch it.
Anybody can win
That's
over.
the only way I watch it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, to say the very least. And then in probably the most surprising casting news of the year, Jamie Foxx is set to return as Electro in the third Spider-Man movie.
Is this casting news?
Third,
technically?
it is casting news. Yeah, it seemed to confirm it. It was reported first by Hollywood Reporter. I believe he tweeted something out. I don't have it right in front of me. But yeah, he is going to play another version of Electro. It won't be the exact same as his turn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. For a start, he will not be blue. But it seems an interesting choice to bring him back for this role. Is it just a bit too confusing? Especially on the back. I think it made sense when they brought back J.K. Simmons to play J. Jonah Jameson, because he's so connected to that role and everybody kind of sees him as... It was perfect casting the first time. Why are they doing this?
Good question.
Well, I read a quote from, I don't know if it was from the director or the producer or whatever, or whether it was Feige or whatever, saying that they liked him as that character, but they didn't like the way they took the character in the story, that they want to see what he can do, I guess, with their own retelling. I mean, I'm not particularly as upset about this as the internet seems to be. Yeah, I'm keen to see how it plays out. A lot of the things I'm saying that, if they can bring him back, they can bring fucking Daredevil back and everyone else from the Marvel TV shows, but I think it's a separate issue.
Dylan?
No, I don't really care. I mean, that's how I feel. People are getting angry about this. I'm like, who fucking cares? Calm down. Get off your height. Like, who?
Yeah, save your death threats for
Yeah. Fucking hell. Yeah, no, I don't care. I don't hate that movie as much as everyone else does anyway. Like Amazing
I quite like
Spider-Man 2. I thought it was a messy movie, but there's a lot of parts of it that I quite enjoyed, and yeah, so if he's coming back to play Electro, sure, whatever, I don't care. I don't love the new Spider-Man movies as much as everyone else does, so I'm neither here nor there, whatever, I don't care. We're all going to watch it anyway. So everyone yells about it like they're not going to watch it. But then they watch it, and then they'll be like, oh, I guess it was fine.
Oh, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx was alright, eh?
I like when he used the
I like the way when you die, boy. Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I like the way you swing, Parker. Yeah. That was a Django reference
that film.
for people playing.
Okay, and last bit of news. The Actor Awards, the Australian Academy of Cinema and Television, have announced they're going to be, as part of their Actor Awards for this year, are going to have some Audience Choice Awards based on the last 10 years of television and cinema in Australia, because they're celebrating their 10th anniversary as actor. I can't remember exactly what they were called before.
Sorry, can I interrupt you there and say that is a really fucking on the nose acronym. That is so confusing.
I don't know if I'd nail the acronym because it doesn't have it written down right in front of me, but yeah. So that between now, obviously they've put some nominees out, and you'll have until the 11th of October to vote. So I'm going to go through the nominees. We're going to say who we think we should be nominated. Who would you pick in each category to help people vote in the couple of days they have between when this episode releases and the voting closes. All right. So let's go with this is an interesting category. the oddest category out of the bunch. Favorite TV moment from the last 10 years. We have Patrick dying from Offspring. The Freak buried alive from Wentworth. Josh finding his mother dead from Please Like Me. The Thailand cave rescue. The Prime Minister Tony Abbott eating an onion.
What the?
The honey... the honey badger not choosing a partner. Yep, this is all in the same category. The honey badger not choosing a partner from The Bachelor. Dan and Steph winning My Kitchen Rules. Inez and Sam's affair from My Married at First Sight. Mick Fanning punching a shark. And Adam's Goods War Cry Dance. What are you going to pick?
Australian media is dire. Is this run by the same people that did the Game Awards?
No. No, this is the official Academy for Australia.
Adam Goods.
This is fucking... this is pathetic. Tony Abbott eating an onion.
I'll go with Wentworth. No, maybe. Favorite Australian TV drama? Offspring, Neighbours, Mystery Road, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, Top of the Lake, Wentworth, Molly, Love Child, Doctor Doctor, and Home and Away.
Top of the Lake.
Nick.
Neighbours. Toadie just has it.
I would say Wentworth.
Parliament House.
Does
that tie into when PM ate an onion? No? Okay.
Mr. In Between.
No. Okay. Next up, favorite Australian film of the decade. Nominees are Peter Rabbit, Red Dog, The Sapphires, The Great Gatsby, The Babadook, The Water Diviner, The Dressmaker, Lion, Ride Like a Girl, and Mad Max Fury Road.
Mad Max Fury Road.
I would go Mad Max. Yeah.
Fury Road is the other one I've seen.
Runner-up Babadook.
Yeah.
Runner-up Animal Kingdom.
Yeah,
I've seen
Animal
Kingdom. Yeah,
I think that might have just been before this decade, so...
It came out 2010, didn't it? No? This is 10 years anniversary.
2001 to 2020.
Do they know how to count?
Yeah. No, but then it'd be 2001 to 2000...
Yeah.
No, 2011 to 2020.
Yeah. That's
fucking rude.
Yeah. Favorite TV actor of the decade? Sarah Snook, Ashley Ketty, Brian Brown, Claudia Carvin, Roger Corser, Aaron Peterson, Deborah Melman, Mardell Dusseldorp, Damon Herriman, and Essie Davis.
Who was the first one?
Sarah Snook.
Essie Davis. It's the only one I know.
You know Sarah Snook. She's from Succession.
Do I?
Yeah, she's the daughter.
He hasn't watched Succession.
The sister.
I've only watched a couple episodes.
Yeah, you've seen the first episode.
So Essie, it's Essie Davis.
I would say Ashley Ketty.
Who the fuck's that?
From Offspring.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. What's it about?
No.
They got good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a pediatric nurse or something like that.
See?
Midwife or something.
Pretty fly fur.
I know, I've seen her. I've watched enough. Favorite comedy performer of the decade? Hamish Blake and Andy Lee, Tom Gleeson, Will Anderson, Hannah Gadsby, Nazim Hussain, Stephen Oliver, Dave Hughes, Julia Morris, Celia Pacquola, and Celeste Barber.
Adam Hills.
No, he's been in England, so he's on the list.
He's been on 3 or 4 specials of Spicks and Specks, thank you.
Well, clearly not enough to be on this list.
I'll go Will Anderson.
I would say Tom Gleeson.
Scott Morrison.
Love him. Absolute comedic act. He is. Always got a laugh out of me.
I mean, it's more sad than comedic, but...
sad for those Queenslanders.
Favorite TV contestant of the decade?
Here we go. Love all these.
TV contestant. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's...
Of all the episodes you come back to, I come back to this fucking bullshit.
Gotta love it. Po Ling Yao from MasterChef, Dami Im from The X Factor, as well as Dancing with the Stars and Eurovision. Sam Frost from The Bachelor, Stevie Flood and Will Stewart from My Kitchen Rules, Chrissy Swan from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Sophie Monk from The Bachelorette, Olivia Vivian from Ninja Warrior, Jules and Cam from Married at First Sight, Josh and Elsie from The Block, and Angela Clancy from Big Brother. Guys.
You fucking care.
I'm not participating in this
I
bullshit.
haven't watched any of this shit. Who the fuck do you think I am? I don't know who any of these people are.
Me
people need to
answering
know.
this legitimizes this fucking stupid award.
Hey Siri, who's the best Big Brother contestant?
Here's Big Brother.
Nah,
A group of housemates live together under the same roof, isolated from the outside world, and filmed around the clock to compete for a cash prize.
Great answer, Siri. I would say dummy him. I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Paul Harrigan from Get Me Out of Here.
Okay. And then final award, favorite global star of the decade. The nominees are Kate Blanchett, Rose Byrne, Russell Crowe, Joel Edgerton, Chris Hemsworth, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Ben Mendelsohn, Margot Robbie, and Jackie Weaver.
Russell Crowe shouldn't be nominated for this.
I don't know. What's he done the last 10
Ben-
years?
Not only that, he's a Kiwi.
No.
No.
He's
Yeah.
Australian.
Darkest Secret of Australia. Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, that dude.
I would say it will probably be Chris Hemsworth.
Nah, outrageous. What's he? Fuck's he done?
Thor.
Rich.
Like 7, some of the biggest movies of the last 10 years.
Yeah, what's that done for Australia? When's the last time Chris came back and said hello?
That's true.
Yeah, fucking piece of shit.
Okay. I say he will win. It maybe it should go to Hugh Jackman. I think
Nah,
Russell Crowe, born in Wellington, New Zealand.
no,
Yeah,
it should go to Joel Edgerton or Ben Mendelsohn. They're the only two I'll accept.
Russell Crowe did do Nice Guys in 2016, so that
That is
maybe-
a fantastic film.
That is a
yeah.
fantastic.
So that's why he should be. That's
Absolutely.
why he's an Australian.
And he owns the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, so very Australian.
No, they beat Newcastle. There's not allowed.
All right. Let's move into what do we end up watching. Hey, Nick, what did we end up watching?
Easy A.
I always thought that pretending to lose my virginity would be a little more special. Judy Blume should have prepared me for that.
Brandon told me what you did for him. No, he told me the truth. I was just hoping that maybe you could do the same for me.
So whether I liked it or not, I was open for business.
20% off to Bath & Body Works. Is that how much our imaginary trust meant to you? I fake rocked your world.
We need to pray for her, but we also need to get her the hell out of here.
On Monday, things took a turn for the scandalous.
Screw all these people, Olive.
Ironically, we were studying the Scarlet Letter. This girl named Hester Prynne has an affair with the minister, is besmirched, and made to wear a red A for adulterer.
Perhaps you should embroider a red A on your wardrobe.
I'm not proud of this.
No judgment, but you kind of look like a stripper.
Mom,
A high-end stripper for governors or athletes.
is she the one everyone's talking about?
Yes.
I know exactly what you're doing. If I promise not to tell anyone, could I kiss you right now?
Yes, the 2010 film directed by Will Gluck, starring Emma Stone, Stanley Tucci, Patricia Clarkson, Thomas Hayden Church, Dan Bird, Amanda Bynes, Penn Bagley, Cam Gigadance, Lisa Kudrow, Ellie Michalka, and Malcolm McDowell. While Olive lies to her best friend about losing her virginity to one of the college boys, a girl overhears their conversation. Soon, her story spreads across the entire school like wildfire. I would very much like to thank our good friend Simon Blackburn for suggesting this one for episode 69. A good sex romp, kind of, without any of the sex. I will say I was thinking about doing American Pie for this episode, but I thought it would be a little bit too on the nose if we do 3 episodes of Eugene Levy in a row.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
Yes. So Nick, had you seen Easy A before?
More times than I care to count, because it's Stacey's favourite film.
Wow!
Whoa.
Shout out to Stacey.
Yeah, shout out to Stacey.
So I've been instructed to give this 10 out of 10.
But okay, so how do you really feel about Easy A?
It's fine. I think it's a good film. A lot of it, I guess the acting seems forced, especially her interactions with the family. I think it puts forth some very progressive, I guess for the time, ideas, and I guess pushes them in a positive light. But yeah, I think it's fine. It's serviceable. It's worth watching. But I would say it's definitely one of my favourite films. It's certainly unique in, I guess it's telling one of those teenage, I guess, sex coming-of-age stories without actually involving any of the actual sex.
Dylan?
Yeah, I've seen this movie a bunch. It's great. It's a great movie. It's a Tom Hughes, fucking
John Hughes.
Son. Sorry, what did I say?
Tom.
Yeah, his cousin, eh? Shout out to Tom Hughes. John Hughes. It's a John Hughes love movie that doesn't try and hide it because it just incorporates the fact that it's a John Hughes love movie by just having him mentioned in his movies mentioned as part of the plot. And I think that the dialogue you're talking about is also, I think, because of the John Hughes sort of reference. Because if you go watch any of those old John Hughes movies, the characters talked kind of like, I don't know, like a fantasy land. Like the high schools were like fantasy land. Like the things that happened were very fantastical, you know. So it was a lot of fun. Great movie. First movie I think I ever saw. I think it was the first movie I saw Emma Stone in where I knew it was Emma Stone. Because she was obviously in Superbad, but I don't think anyone knew that was or cared to remember her name from her short time in Superbad, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like this was definitely her breakout role.
Yeah.
From memory. Yeah, I really like it as well. I thought, obviously, it's interesting the way it's aged, especially watching it back now of all the people like using flip phones and not smartphones. I think it's crazy to believe that it's what I say 2010, so 10 years ago, how far the world has come in how different it would be, how things would spread much quicker, and you know, she wouldn't be getting gift cards. They were just like PayPal and that kind of stuff now.
Venmo me. Should do an OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah, so really enjoyable. I think, obviously, the John Hughes influences are obvious and varied. I enjoyed obviously, the structure of it, of her talking to a webcam, was probably very progressive at the time. And different. I think, obviously, yeah, she's great in it. A lot of the supporting cast are really good. I really like Amanda Bynes as like this over-the-top Christian. And then I'm very amusing to see Fred Emerson play a father later on in an amusing scene. Yeah, really good film. I really like Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson in this film.
Yeah, I think the family are my most enjoyable scenes, especially with, I guess, all their interactions feel believable, how a family would joke with each other. And they are incredibly supportive, I guess, from what you would come to expect from a typical, I guess, parents from that kind of film, but they are very supportive in everything that they wanted, she wants to do, and supportive in, I guess, in life in general. But yeah, I think they're the scenes that hold up the best for me.
I really enjoy how overdramatic they are in their conversations. Stanley Tucci getting very upset that his son figured out he was a doctor. Yeah, I also like Thomas Hayden Church. I thought he was really good. He's got an interesting delivery in this film, of the way he talks, and very sardonic and, you know, like very odd, I thought. Yeah, so pretty clear we all really enjoyed it. There's not much to say about it. I feel like it obviously is of its time to a certain degree. Obviously, interesting. It's a remake to a certain degree of The Scarlet Letter, or an modern adaptation. Apparently, it was set to be the first in a series of films that were adapting older and reimagining and modernizing, but that kind of never happened.
My fun bit of trivia for this is I remember when I started my first internet blog website, I remember writing a review for this movie on that. It was probably terrible, and I don't think you can find it anymore. But I think the fact that this is 10 years old, and here I am still writing terrible reviews, just goes to show you that even if you think that no one cares to read your shit, you can just keep on writing nonetheless.
I think that'll be a special project for the website where you dig that up and post that.
I just tried to find it, but I think the website died and I'd have to renew. I think it was on Blogger. Blogger.com, I think I ran that one through.
Oh, that should be there eternally.
Yeah, hope so.
Up there forever. Alright, thank you very much for listening to this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can go to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, or you can just go to explosionnetwork.com to find all our news, reviews, other podcasts. It's all there at explosionnetwork.com. If you want to send us, if you want to get in contact with us, check out our Discord over at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. We're all in there, occasionally talking about different things. Mostly tends to be about gaming stuff, but if you want to talk about movies, there's a good spot. If you want to help us out, leave us a review, either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or let people know about it on Twitter. Send us a tweet, then tell your friends about this show, but don't spread any rumors about us losing our virginity. That would be bad.
Wow.
This podcast, unfortunately, has not lost its virginity yet. I don't know what exactly that would mean, but I'm going with it.
You should just probably head towards wrapping up the show. But I just came across a random tidbit to interject, though, just to carry this podcast on a little bit longer, though. So, Robert Eggers, the director of The Lighthouse, his next movie, his next movie is called The Northman. Apparently it's filming. The description says, Viking revenge saga set in Iceland at the turn of the 10th century. And it has Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Anna Taylor-Joy, William Dafoe, and Bjork. Fucking shout-outs. Bjork making a return to movies since apparently 2009 or something. This thing looks. Keep your eyes peeled on that one. That's.
I said it before. Iceland's having a big year.
I was so impressed by this cast. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Anyway, yeah.
Good enough to mention at the end of the podcast.
Well, I had to save your terrible podcast. Hasn't lost its virginity.
Well, maybe if Ashley was prepared.
Listen, just because this podcast hasn't been fucked yet doesn't mean anything.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I tried to help you, but then you took it back. So
get in here, me undies. Fuck us hard.
Wow.
All right. Until next time. Keep watching stuff, I guess. Hey, Nick. What did we end up watching?
Easy A.
You know when Ash said it at the start of the episode, it sounded very strange. He's like, and we also watched Easy A? Easy A?
Easy A.
Easy A.
Easy A, right?